The window opener for witty ideas and creative inventions, that which protects you, your offering, and your seed, is a spiritual currency called the tithe. The tithe will secure the blessings for not only yourself, but your children and your children's children. It is important that you tithe. It's only a dime for every dollar, and when you tithe, God obligates himself to bless you. The tithe is a discipline that you should adopt. So lean in as we discover the mystery of the tithe. Welcome to our next installment. I want you to jump right into our text from out of the book of Genesis. And I really want to shape your paradigm around the whole idea of tithe and give you another understanding and just turn it like a prism so that you can really see the benefits of tithing. I know it's a big debate whether or not tithing was a part of the dispensation of law, but now that we're under the dispensation of grace, we shouldn't be tithing. Prayerfully, this particular installment would help to clarify many of the questions that are floating around today in the church. Genesis 14:17-24. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Sheva, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, bore forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which has delivered thine enemies into thine hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, take the goods to themselves. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoelace, that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldst say, I have made Abram rich, save only that which the young man have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Ashkel, Mamar, let them take their portion. So the whole idea of tithing, and again, this is a concept that has been floating around in the church, and it's open for big debate. And I'm just weighing in, just giving scriptures so that you can understand, at least from my perspective and my theology, why the tithe is still important and why the tithe is relevant. You can consider the tithe like a tax. A tax is used to keep a country in good repair, to pay for schools, education, infrastructure, libraries, things like that. The tithe was not instituted in the dispensation of law, but in the dispensation of human consciousness, which was way ahead of the dispensation of promise, which is the dispensation that Abraham paid tithes. And so if you go back all the way to the book of Genesis, actually the 4th chapter of Genesis 3-7, you would be introduced when the tithe was actually instituted. And it was obviously by revelation at that particular time, even though Cain and Abel had been banned from out of the Garden of Eden, yet they raised their children based on a revelation that they had received, obviously, as a direct download from heaven, them actually talking with God, God communing with them, and then, Adam and Eve actually teaching their two sons, Cain and Abel. In Genesis 4:3-7, it says, in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. So that's the offering. And Abel, he also bore the firstlings of his flock and of the fat. And the Lord had respect to Abel's offering. So this is interesting because he bought the firstling, which is the first fruit, and then of the fat, that was the tithe. So he gave an offering, he gave his first fruit, and he gave his tithe. And as a result of that, he had favor, God increased his influence, etc., etc. Hebrews 7:1 records the whole tithing concept and takes us all the way back to Abraham, who had paid tithe to a king or the priest of the Most High God, which was Melchizedek. So in Hebrews chapter 7, we're introduced to the story and they expand the story. It says, "For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abram returning from the slaughter of kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that king of Salem, which is king of peace, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of days, but made it like unto the Son of God, abideth the priest continuously. Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave a tenth of the spoils. And verily, they that are of the sons of Levi, who receive the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tithes of the people according to the law, that is, of their brethren, though they came out of the loins of Abraham." So a tithe, which was given in Genesis chapter 4 as a revelation, repeated in the dispensation, and this is this dispensation of human consciousness, repeated in the dispensation of promise, that revelation is carried on in the dispensation of law. So from the beginning of mankind's relationship with God and the beginning of mankind's operation here in the earth realm, man have been paying tithe. And this is from generation to generation to generation and dispensation to dispensation to dispensation. And if a tithe paying was by revelation at the beginning of the consciousness of what God wants and how to worship God and what would honor God, why would you think that particular observance would end in the dispensation of grace? I want to drop down to verse number 9. "And as I may so say, Levi also, who receiveth tithe, paid tithes in Abraham." And so Abraham's act is passed down from one generation to the other. And as a result of that, Levi, or the Levitical priesthood, was blessed to receive the tithe, or were beneficiaries of the tithe that was paid by Abraham. And so, you see it passed down. Abraham has 2 children. And then, of course, Isaac has a set of twins. And then Jacob has 12 children, and one of them is Levi. So you see this intergenerational blessing that is being sent down as a result of paying tithe. So let's see if we can bring some understanding and comprehension to the particular discipline of paying tithes. And it's a benefit. So the tithe becomes a kingdom currency, or your kingdom capital, that can be easily converted into wealth. So the tithe is a dime on every dollar. You keep 90 cents and give God a dime. So it doesn't seem so bad when you're dealing with just $1. So a tithe is only a dime. It's a dime on every dollar. That's what a tithe is. And it's no more than that. It's a dime on every dollar. And the tithe was given to God through the priesthood. Thus, the tithe belongs to God. So you're not giving God what does not belong to him. You are giving God what already belongs to him. Since God owns everything in the earth, everything belongs to him. Therefore, when you pay the tithe, you're considered a good steward. Psalm 24:1 says that the earth belongs to the Lord and the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein. So when you don't give your tithe, you are considered a spiritual robber or an extortionist, because you're actually stealing from God. And this is important to understand. When we read the scripture from out of Malachi chapter 3, verse 7-8, it says, "Even from the days of your fathers, you're gone away from my ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord. But you said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offering." So technically speaking, You are robbing God of the opportunity to bless your life and robbing God of the opportunity to protect your life. Technically, God doesn't need your money because he owns everything. This is just a way that you honor God. This is a way that you acknowledge everything belongs to him and that I'm a mere steward. The tithe is a window opener. And so a window is a portal. When windows are open, it's different from a door being open. A door is an opportunity that opens, but when a door of opportunity that opens to you, but a window is the receptivity or the receiving of supernatural ideas and witty inventions. So when a window is open to you, God will inspire you for greatness, for success, and for prosperity. Malachi 3, 8 and 11. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithe and offering. So when you give your tithe and when you give your offering, it gives God an opportunity to prove his benevolence in your life. And when you withhold your tithe, you rob him of that right. And the world will look at you and wonder, is God really this provider? Can he really sustain his children? And so the spirit realm works by the law of prosperity. So in the spirit realm, the laws of prosperity, give and receive, reaping and sowing, seed time and harvest, stewardship and entrepreneurship. This is the spiritual realm that actually works by the laws of prosperity. So when you give to God, he obligates himself that he gives back to you. If you are reaping, you're going to have to sow, and if you're sowing, you're going to reap. And so the Bible said, you are cursed with a curse. You have robbed me, even the whole nation. This is verse number 9. So that means when you refuse to give your tithe, you not only negatively affect your future prosperity, you also affect the prosperity of your nation and future generations. The Bible said, bring ye all the tithe into my storehouse, that you may have meat, that there may be meat in my house. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open up the windows of heaven, pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sake, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord. So when you're tithing, you are actually blessing your family, blessing your business when you tithe. And God obligates himself even to protect you. So my next point, number 4, the tithe protects the one that tithes. Again, Malachi 3, 7 to 10, even from the days of your father, you were gone away from my ordinances. Return unto me, I will return unto you, said the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed you? In tithes and offering was the answer. You're cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. So if you look at that, a nation can prosper based on its ability to tithe. The Bible said, therefore bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive. So if you're receiving a blessing and it's not room in your life, there's going to be an overflow of blessings, an overflow that will, bless your family, bless your community, bless the nation. So the tithe, number 5, protects the seed and passes blessings down to future generation. So when we talk about protecting the seed, we did a whole segment on the seed. You want to see the seed as something you plant like in a field. So the tithe will be equivalent to a scarecrow. And the scarecrow is there so that the crows and the birds won't eat up the seed before it gets a chance to blossom and bring forth the harvest. And so that's what your tithe does. Your tithe protects the seed. Number 7, you should tithe on all your income. That includes monetary gifts, bonuses, rental income. You should tithe on everything. The Bible said that we should tithe in all of our increase. And there is a penalty for not paying your tithe is a penalty of 20%. So this is number 6 and 7. There is a 20% penalty for touching the tithe. And then number 7, we should give a tithe of all income. That includes monetary gifts, bonuses, rental income. So if you have a rental property and you're renting it out, you should be tithing off of that. If you get bonuses and tips and birthday gifts, you should be tithing off of that. You should give a tithe of all your increases. Leviticus 27 and 30. And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord. So your property is on land, and if you have property that you're leasing out, then a tenth of that belongs to the Lord. Number 8, we should covenant to pay our tithes to God. Genesis 28:22. And Jacob awakened out of his sleep, and he said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, took the stone that he had put for a pillow, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of the city was called Luz at first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, I will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall the Lord be my God, and this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I surely will give a tenth unto thee. And I love this because Jacob recognizes the power of the tithe. And at that particular time, he really did not have enough resources even to tithe to God. He said, God, if you bless me, I promise you I would tithe out of that. And I thought that was really, really powerful, because if you read Jacob's story, Jacob goes on, he's employed, then he starts his own business. He ends up in biotech business, and he's a millionaire multiple times over. And then we see that his national and global brand, personal brand, begins to increase. He becomes an influencer, and then he raises his sons really to be industry leaders. And through just his life, we see how the Hebrew nation becomes really powerful. The tithe supports the budget of the church. Again, when you bring your tithe, your church has a budget, and it helps to support that budget. Malachi 3:7 and 10, the Bible said, bring all the tithes into my house, and prove me now herewith that I would not open the windows of heaven, pour you out a blessing, that there shall be not room enough to receive it. The next one, the tithe. The tithe was given to support those in full-time ministry service in the house of God. So the priests were not paid a salary. They were salaried out of the tithe. So as long as there was tithe, the priest could eat and live. Numbers 18:20 to 28. Again, they were sustained based on the tithe. Now, the danger of touching the tithe. 1, you end up under a financial curse. Malachi 3:8 to 12. You can look at that. It says, will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, wherein we have robbed thee in tithes and offering. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me. And so being cursed means it's different from like someone with a cauldron, a black cat, bubble, bubble, toil in trouble, bam, and you have this curse. It has nothing to do with that. It simply means God sets up these laws and ordinances, and he expects you to keep those laws and to keep those ordinances. And when you do, you end up being blessed. The opposite of a bless is a curse. You can read this in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, and you can see all the blessings up to verse number 14, but verse number 15 to the very ending of that particular chapter, there are all these curses. And the curses come as the natural result of acts of disobedience. So when we talk about blessings and curses, you actually curse yourself, and you also bless yourself by choosing and being intentional with the Word of God, applying it to your life, being obedient to what God says, as opposed to being disobedient to what He says, and then the natural outcome of that will be a curse. We see this in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, Joshua chapter 7, verse 1, straight through to verse number 25. You see how Achan touched the holy thing which belonged to God. His family was cursed. The earth opened its mouth, and we see his name blotted out of history. And that was because of what he did with touching that which belonged to God. Now, there is a residual effect of tithing. And I read it early in Hebrews chapter 7. You could read it for yourself. Hebrews 7, verses 1 to 10, Melchizedek, and then it goes on and talks about how Levi paid tithes in his father, and as a result of that, the tithe were paid to him. So he was really blessed as a result of his father paying tithes. So the tithe is not just to secure blessings in your life. The tithe is there so that you can secure blessings in your children's and your children's children. We talk about, staying married for the children's sake, but tithe for the children's sake. Way after you pass, the benefits of the tithe will continue to reverberate throughout generations that are yet unborn to time, and maybe parts of your lineage that you may never get a chance to see, they will be blessed as a result of that. So the question is, if the windows of heaven can be open, how do you actually open the windows of heaven? You do it with your tithe, and you do it with your offering. Malachi 3, 1 to 10, again, an open door are opportunities, and open windows are God downloading witty ideas, creative inventions into your mind that affects your bottom line, which is your finances. And so when it comes to the tithe belongs to God. It was instituted way before the dispensation of promise, way before the dispensation of law. And it is a discipline that you should adopt if you are paying giving seeds, giving offering. Your tithe actually protects that, and it guarantees you success and protection in the long run. It's only a dime on a dollar, and that's the mystery of the tithe. Thanks for tuning in to the series on Cindy Trimm YouTube channel. All of our activities at Cindy Trimm Ministries are supported by our wonderful partners, sponsors, and contributors. And if you'd like to become one, you can do so by adhering to the following commercial. In the meantime, please take just a second to click the subscribe button. That way you won't miss a single life-changing video. And if you have subscribed, make sure you share. Thanks again for watching. And as always, it's a pleasure and an honor to do life with you in real time.
The Cindy Trimm Ministries app just got even better. Dive into the brand new experience right now by updating or downloading the latest version of the app for free in the Apple or Google Play Store. The dynamic home screen keeps you up to date with the latest empowering articles, sermons, live streaming services, and a weekly arrangement of the most inspiring content available anywhere. Watch on-demand messages and begin leading your empowered life group today. Sign up now and receive your how-to handbook and discussion guides for each message. There's more empowerment at every click. Engage in the latest events hosted by Dr. Trimm and find out when she's coming to a city near you. We've even made giving easier than ever before. You can donate now by selecting the Give button inside of the app. After creating your profile, giving will be as simple as putting in an amount and selecting Donate. Download the Cindy Trimm Ministries app now and begin your journey of empowerment with us today.